Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. How y'all doing? Yo, Claressa Shields and Laila Ali, who's the real GWOAT? I see everybody has an opinion on this. Some people are saying Laila Ali is the real GWOAT. Some people are saying Claressa Shields. I'm going to tell you myself, I have an opinion. I think very highly of Laila Ali. And every way you can think of. With Claressa Shields, I think highly about her in a lot of areas. But I just think when you talk about women's boxing, right? You know, in my opinion, when you're talking about women's boxing, there are two names that arrive above all others. And I think we can agree on that. It's Laila Ali and Claressa Shields. Now, I know some people haven't seen Laila Ali fight before. They may have gone out and looked at a few highlights, but they really don't understand what Laila Ali brought to the ring. So when they start talking about, you know, who they think is the greatest woman of all times between Laila Ali and Claressa Shields, they immediately go towards Claressa Shields because of what you're seeing right now and what they know about what she did as an amateur and just as a professional with the accolades. And let me tell you something. It matters. It really does matter. But you know what else matters? That they're separated by generations. Okay? So if you weren't part of that generation, you probably won't understand the importance of Laila Ali to women's boxing. Just like when I hear these young McNicholases running around here and don't want to put any respect on Roy Jones' name, don't want to put any respect on Mike Tyson's name, don't want to put any respect on Lennox Lewis' name, don't want to put any respect on Muhammad Ali's name, Larry Holmes' name, Floyd Mayweather's name. All they know right now is Terrence Crawford, Canelo. That's it. They don't know nothing about all the other greats. But I'm going to tell you this. These two women are separated by generations, but they're bound by destiny. You know what I'm saying? There's a uniqueness to both of them. Both are undefeated. Both are outspoken. One chooses the words very carefully. The other one, just reckless. Both dominant in their own right. They have a lot in common. But there's one question, although there's so many congruencies we can draw, right, between the two. There's one question that the boxing fans they just can't stop asking. Who's the real GWOAT? Now, I don't think I've ever heard Laila Ali say that, but then again, I don't live on the internet like some of y'all, so maybe she has come out here and referred to herself as the greatest woman of all time. But there is one female fighter who I've heard say that a couple times. Claressa Shields. There's Claressa Shields, the one who calls herself the GWOAT, right? GWOAT, 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 I'm the GWOAT, 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 GWOAT. I just think we need to break it down from a legacy to skill standpoint and also cultural impact to controversy. Just try to do a little bit of a deep dive, man. Because even for me, when I put together these outlines, you know, I learn a lot. And that's what I like to share. I don't share everything. Some of that shit I'm like, I ain't talking about. But with this, I will. So let's start with Laila Ali, man. We all know who she is. That last name by itself tells the story. The daughter of the greatest himself, Muhammad Ali. From the moment she laced up a pair of gloves, she carried the heaviest name in all of boxing. And I know some people have their opinion. Well, the father didn't want her to fight. You don't know what he wanted, what he didn't want. You don't know all the conversation. You may hear bits and pieces of kind of how some of the conversation would have gone, but you don't have a holistic understanding of what transpired because you weren't there. And the fly on the wall can't talk. So easy, McNicholas, because you don't know. But it had to be hard. And even today, it's got to be hard carrying that last name, Ali. Look at the fact that we're here talking about it right now thanks to Claressa Shields. The last name Ali, to me, has been a blessing and a blessing. Would never say it was a curse. But it's drawn some attention. Unwanted attention, unnecessary attention, unwarranted attention. And she didn't just carry it. You know, she protected that last name, and she still protects the last name. You know, one thing she didn't protect was her boxing record. Laila went 24-0 with 21 knockouts, but she didn't do it by ducking fighters and avoiding competition. She dominated from 1999 to 2007. And one thing she had was star power, beauty, charisma, confidence. The full package. She still has it on full display in the video she just did where she was addressing the things she doesn't agree with when it comes to Claressa Shields. Now, one thing about Laila Ali, she didn't just win fights. She made people care about women's boxing at a time when almost nobody did. She did that. Her fights were televised, her interviews were polished, and she had that Ali flair. But let's be honest now. While she was dominant, many critics argue she didn't fight the toughest possible competition. And the politics of boxing, man, look, we know about it when it comes to the men, but it exists in the women too. A lot of it wasn't her fault. Women's boxing was still developing. You know, there weren't as many high-level female fighters available. But even so, the aura of Laila Ali made her the face of women's boxing before there was even a platform for it. So she has a lot to do with where female boxing is today and where it was when Claressa Shields came onto the scene. Now, you fast forward to 2010, come down Claressa Shields. Two-time Olympic gold medalist, the first American boxer, male or female, to achieve that feat. That's a big deal, okay? Now, I don't know how true that she's the first time. I don't think she did it before. I got to go and check. But I'll put it this way. Lomachenko's a two-time gold medalist. And what's his name? The Cuban cat. Guillermo Rigondeaux is a two-time gold medalist. Since then, there have been several two-time gold medalists, okay? I know one recently is Jalalov. But that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is, Claressa Shields, she did that. And she deserves all the respect in the world for really coming out here and putting boxing, women's boxing, especially at the amateur level, on her back and handling business. She turned pro and immediately started making history. I remember first watching Claressa Shields, I was thinking, ain't nobody gonna beat this girl. Like, that shit just looked unfair. And when she fights now, it's a heavier weight. The fight doesn't look unfair to me. But when she first started, I was like, man, it don't make no sense to have her in the fighting. Like, she need to be fighting men. That's really what I thought. But she became the undisputed champion. I think it's 3 weight classes. Something no other female fighter has done. She didn't just beat opponents. She, no kidding, embarrassed them, beat them up. And you just got to be honest here. Her skill set is complete. No matter what you think about Claressa Shields and her attitude and everything else, Claressa Shields gets busy. Speed, she's got it. Timing, she's got it. Defense, she's got it. Combinations, mental toughness, she's a complete package. She really is. But one thing for sure is, unlike Laila Ali, Shields came up in a digital era. Every statement she makes gets amplified online. Every time she flexes her confidence, it's called arrogance. Every time she says she's the best, it's labeled as ego. Now, I'm going to tell you, she's earned the negative attention and she's earned the negative criticism. It's not just what she's saying, because that matters too. It's how she says it. So she's going to get what she's looking for. You know what I'm saying? But I do understand the double standard. Because when you got guys like Floyd, and even, Muhammad Ali back in the day, and he's very talkative as well. Some people just kind of saw that as marketing genius. But I'm going to tell you, with Muhammad Ali, I can't even put him in there because he wasn't all that cussing and craziness. Floyd would cuss, but not like Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields is just very volatile, man, with her words. But the bottom line is, if the guys can do it and get praised for it, maybe she should be allowed to do it and get praised for it. But it goes deeper than just what she says. Like, A lot of people, even right now, I just did a live. There's people that still, they can't get beyond her talking about Muhammad Ali. Like, and I'm gonna say this: she's never intentionally insulted Muhammad Ali and said nothing bad about him. What she was trying to say was complimentary. He wouldn't have avoided a challenge. But the thing is, you just don't say nothing about him when you're trying to fight his daughter. Like, you can never justify why you're mentioning his name and you're trying to fight his daughter. You can never do that. It would never work out, okay? But I just think that's where the debate gets deep when we start talking about double standard. It's not just about who's better in the ring, it's about how society sees greatness and when it's packaged in a woman's body. Claressa Shields talked like a man in a sport built for men. She's loud, she's confident, she's defiant. Sometimes she's disrespectful. But she's in a world where men dominate. What's she supposed to do? I'll say this, right? I hear when Claressa Shields says, "I'm the greatest woman to ever do it." And people weren't really losing their minds when she was saying it. It's only, I think, recently where more than just the female boxers, pro boxers, it's the fans now who are kind of losing their minds when they hear her say this now. And that's what happens when people start to develop a dislike for you. You know, they find any reason to say, "Nah, I don't like her. I don't want to hear her say this. She's saying that." You made yourself into a target, but you're out here looking for attention, and now you have it. But I'll say this: if she was a man, they put her on a billboard and hand her $100 million deal. And that's the double standard that haunts her legacy. Because when you strip away the noise, the facts are on her side. You know, Laila Ali, she was great. A lot of us feel Laila Ali and Claressa Shields, prime for prime. Laila Ali would beat her. But when you start talking about, just forget who's articulate, who's not. Who's a polished speaker, who's not. Let's just look at, right on paper, accomplishments as female boxers. From pros to amateur to pro. Of course, Laila Ali didn't do any amateur stuff. There was no Olympics for females. But the bottom line is, let's not make excuses for anything. Let's just lay it all out on paper. Claressa Shields edges out. She edges out, man. The facts are on her side. You know, Laila Ali was great. Claressa Shields, she's historic. Okay? Now, if these two were to fight in their primes, I got Laila Ali winning. But it would be a chess match between two different eras. Laila had the power, long arms, she had timing, she could counter you with that right hand, and that shit could put anyone to sleep. Even Claressa Shields talks about Laila Ali, how big she is, how big her hands are. So Claressa Shields already went when she shook her hand and saw how big she was. Even Claressa Shields was like, "Yo, this right here is like fighting a Sasquatch." You know what I'm saying? Big, intimidating woman. So Claressa Shields sized her up, and I think even Claressa Shields said to herself, "Hell no. This woman's big. She a big target. But I don't need this woman who has natural knockout power and natural athleticism to be fighting with me." And that right there is a fact. But now Claressa, on the other hand, she got better fundamentals. I think she's more athletic. You know, I'll give her credit for that. Defense, some would say it's tighter, combinations, sharper, much faster hands, ring IQ, it's up there. But I just think Ali will look for that perfect counterpunch. Shields will look to outwork her over the distance. And I think it becomes down to like power versus precision, legacy versus evolution. And honestly, the fight could go all 10 rounds because, Shields would likely try to take a close decision based on activity and skill, but I don't know if that's exactly how this will play out. You know what I'm saying? With Claressa Shields going full 10. Because one thing for sure is Claressa, she's not a boxer runner. She would want to fight. And at some point in that fight, she was going to try to hold her ground, and that's where Laila Ali would probably tranquilize her. And if Claressa Shields did have to run, she got too much pride. I don't see her running, and just not punching. She would try to fight. She would try to make sure she's maintaining some kind of activity. She would try. Claressa Shields, I think Claressa Shields will go out on her shield. As much as she wouldn't want to be embarrassed, she'd rather deal with the embarrassment of being knocked out but trying to win than get the embarrassment of making it to the end of the fight and just throwing rounds away because she was scared to engage. So I still think Laila Ali will get her, man. But I just think what makes this rivalry so interesting is that it's real. Laila Ali and Claressa Shields have exchanged words in interviews and on social media. Ali once said that she was coming out of retirement to fight Shields if the money was right. Shields fired back saying Ali was all talk. And then the back and forth reignited interest in women's boxing, something promoters couldn't even buy with a marketing team. Even though the fight never happened, the verbal war created headlines that brought new fans into the sport. It showed that women can trash talk, build storylines, and sell fights just like men. Yet it's also a battle of perception. Laila Ali is seen as classy, respectful, elegant, the queen of an earlier generation. In a queendom. Claressa Shields is seen as brash, confrontational, unapologetic, the warrior queen of the new age. Some people say, I'm not going to say what they say, but if Laila Ali is in a queendom, what do you think people are saying about Claressa Shields? I just think one was built for television, the other one was built for Twitter. One played the part of the hero, the other one embraced the role of a villain. Even though I think deep down they don't like it, but it's kind of who they are. But both are essential to the growth of women's boxing. Without Laila Ali, there might not be a Claressa Shields. Without Claressa Shields, women's boxing might not be where it is today, headlining major cards and fighting for undisputed belts. I mean, both of these women have done some amazing things for the sport of boxing, but everybody wants to go with the drama, you know what I mean? They want to go with the drama, the videos where people are taking pokes at Laila Ali, pokes at Claressa Shields, and I got a great sense of humor, so I can take anything I'm talking about and make it funny as hell. But I just think from a cultural standpoint, when you get serious about this, man, Ali helped introduce women's boxing to mainstream America. But Shields, Laila Ali has an Ali name. But when she was fighting, I think she definitely took the boxing to mainstream media. But I want to say Claressa Shields globalized female boxing. But I don't know if I can give her all the credit for that, man. But what I will say is, I do think, matter of fact, I think I meant to say that because she fought outside of America. She inspired a new generation of girls and carried herself like she belongs in every conversation, and not just with women, but also with the best boxers, period. And she's gone into MMA route. So Claressa Shields has done the business, but she's called out male champions. She sparred with men. She was acting like she wanted to fight Keith Thurman. Thank God she didn't do that. The GWOAT would have been the goner, KO'd. She would mess around with Keith Thurman, man. He would have flatlined her. I just think with her, she just refuses to let gender define her ceiling. And that mindset is why Claressa Shields might actually just because of what's available, what's been available since she's turned pro, the type of opportunities. She might be more accomplished than Laila Ali ever was, you know, not just in titles, but also in impact. But it's a different era, different time. If Laila Ali was fighting right now during this era and time, believe you me, Laila Ali would have a much bigger impact. Look at her impact already just from coming out doing them videos. You know what I'm saying? She has a presence now. She has a footprint now. And she only did one video and got everybody talking about her and Claressa Shields. But I'll say this, right? Even with all her success, Shields still faces a wall of criticism. Some fans say she talks too much profanity, she wears too much revealing clothing, she's doing this music career with these offensive lyrics, she disrespects her peers, she needs to show more humility. And that's an argument by a lot of fans, but there are others that argue exactly that when it comes to boxing, what boxing needs, they feel like Claressa Shields is that. They say, yo, you guys see one thing, we see personality, we see energy, we see emotion. Laila Ali had grace. Claressa Shields has grit. And grit lasts longer in a fight, is what some people will tell you. Because what Shields brings is a different kind of greatness. The kind that's built from struggle, rejection, and pure willpower. She didn't have a big name to open doors. She fought her way in, and she's fighting every day to stay there. And that's a pretty interesting point, you know what I'm saying? So, now legacy is where this debate really takes shape, okay? Laila Ali's name will always carry historical weight. Doesn't matter. She'll always be the A-side. She's an icon by bloodline and by performance. She took the Ali name and she ran with it towards the danger, trying to fight the best fights that she possibly could. But the thing is, Claressa Shields has done something no other female fighter has done. You know, whether you like her or not, Claressa Shields has made the sport respect her resume. And there's always going to be those detractors that say, who she fought? She's fought nobody. There are always going to be those people. But she's forced boxing fans to acknowledge her skills, to acknowledge her achievements, and place her in history. Even though they don't want to, yet you have to. And that's not just greatness, that's impact. But the problem is, her greatness is being overshadowed by her perceived negative ways, negative attitude. And until she resolves that, Claressa Shields' greatness will always be called into question. Even though we know what she's done, what she's accomplished. Attitude, professionalism is everything when you're talking about sports and leadership and great professionals. So if this were a battle for the throne, Laila Ali built the castle, and Laila Ali would be wearing the crown. But Claressa Shields would have stormed the gate, and she would definitely be trying to take the crown from Laila Ali. So, the real answer to who's the GWOAT, the greatest woman of all time. If you ask me, you know, Laila Ali is Muhammad Ali's daughter. He's the GOAT. Daughter got to be the GWOAT. But I just think, you know, without joking, it depends on what you value. If you value cultural importance and first generation of fame, you know, it's Laila Ali. But if you value, you know, accomplishments, competition, technical mastery, then maybe you go with Claressa Shields. But how about this? Maybe we just don't have to choose. Maybe we can just enjoy having conversations and dialoguing about it, although it probably won't happen. But if it would, then we'd be back here talking about who we think would win and being passionate about our positions. But I'll say this. Whether you think Clarissa's the GWOAT or you think Laila Ali's the GWOAT, that doesn't matter. We'll probably never agree on that. But one thing I think we can all agree is Laila Ali lit the torch, and Claressa Shields has carried it into the future. And the truth is both of them changed boxing forever. And that's something no scorecard can ever measure. And that may be the best we ever get from both of them, is that they both changed boxing forever. Laila Ali lit the torch. Claressa Shields has carried it into the future. And maybe we should put some respect on both of their names. And y'all can put a little donation my way so I can get that fried rice and chicken wings. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans all 7 continents. Y'all, I'm in the breeze.